Hi, my name is Limela, and today I'm going to present to you my project, which is called the baby monitor. But before I go to the physical project, I would like to show you some of the few things that helped me to build the project. So firstly, we have the flowchart, which explains how the whole system is going to work. So now in this flowchart, what's going to happen is that firstly we have the three main sensors which are going to do most of the work. We have the PIR motion sensor, we have the microphone, and we have the water sensor. Okay, since this is a baby monitoring system, the PIR motion sensor, it will detect any motion while the baby is still in his or her room, and the microphone will specifically detect the cry of the baby, which is how the baby sounds. So this simply means that it will not be disturbed by any sounds that are outside, but it will only respond to the specific sound of the baby. And lastly, we have the water sensor, which will detect in a case whereby the baby is wet, or okay, so this is how it's gonna work. Firstly, we're gonna initialize all the pins. We initialize all the pins. We initialize the motion sensor pin, the water sensor pin, and the microphone pin, and also our outputs, which will be the LCD, the two LEDs, which is the red LED and the green LED. The next step is the sensing by all the sensors. So now in this step, all the sensors will be sensing. The PR will sense for any motion, the microphone will sense for any sound that is specifically the baby is crying, and then the water sensor will sense the wetness. So if any motion it is detected by the PIR, what is gonna happen is that this statement is gonna follow. Okay, now the LCD will display a text telling you that the baby is awake, and then a green LED will be lit on or will shine to indicate that the baby is awake. And if any sound, the microphone will detect that change in the environment, and it will execute this statement, which will display on the LCD. So on the LCD, it will be displayed that the baby is crying, and then the buzzer will ring, which to indicate the parent, which is far away from the baby, to indicate that the baby is awake, or maybe she's crying. And then lastly, which is the part whereby the water sensor will play the role. So if any wetness is detected by the water sensor, what will happen is that a text will also be displayed on the LCD indicating that the baby is wet, to warn you like to come and change the baby. And then it will be displayed on the LCD, and then here the red LED will light on. And then this will happen in the loop. It will be in a form of a loop. So this process the process that I've explained, it will continue going, running until you decide to switch off the whole system. So now to take you to the next part, this is my block diagram, the final block diagram. As you can see here, we have the main part, which is the microprocessor, which is responsible for all the programming and the integration of the whole system. So here it is the supply. In my experiment, to supply my whole project, it's just gonna need 5 volts, because all the components, they don't require that much of power. So the supply will be the cable. I will supply it in regards of the PC, my laptop. So here is the PR sensor, which is the input, the first input, and secondly the sound sensor, which is the microphone, the second input, and thirdly the third input will be the water sensor. These are all the inputs that will be in the microcontroller. And then the output will be the buzzer, the red LED, the green LED, and the 16:2 LCD display. And the third part, this is the schematic in terms of building the whole circuit. So now, as you can see, this here is this thing. So this is a more detailed diagram. Uh, yeah, and here it is the PCB. This one is the PCB. Right now, I'm gonna show you the physical project, which is the baby monitor built in. So right here we have our LCD display, and then right here we have our green LED, the red LED, and the buzzer right here. And right here we have our motion sensor. As you can see right now, it's been detecting motion, hence why you see the green LED going on. We have our peer motion sensor, we have our microphone, and right here, this one, it is our water sensor. So now I'm gonna demonstrate you how it works. Firstly, I'm gonna show you in terms of when the baby is awake. So now motion is detected. Motion what is detected? Motion is detected. The green LED lit on, and the LCD, it will display that the baby is awake, telling you that the baby is moving. And then secondly, I'm just gonna make this my hands wet so that I can demonstrate you how the water sensor works. So if the baby is wet, what this sensor will do, it will detect that the baby is wet, and the red LED will light on. As you can see, the red LED is on, and the LCD will display that the baby is wet. The baby is wet. And finally, when the baby is crying, and this is what's gonna happen. So now I have a recording of the baby crying here. Now you can see now the baby is crying. Now it displays the LCD that the baby is crying, and the buzzer is lighting on. You see now. So lastly, I want to show you, this is the whole the program that I wrote. I installed this program into my microprocessor, which is the Arduino. So if you want this program, I will just post it in the description link. So feel free to do this at the comfort of your own home. Now I'd like to thank you